As always, there has been a lot of, hoopla going on, with this thing about the World Cup in Qatar. And, we heard a lot of stuff, a lot of things. And, it's like here in Ecuador where I live, they're crazy about soccer, and football, and they don't realize that this is a ritual, and it is a satanic ritual, a pagan ritual, and it is a Masonic and Jesuit ritual. Because if you didn't know, the Jesuits own every single sports out there. They own everything. Okay? So what we're seeing is, a lot of idolizing of the sports. Okay? And that's what I want to talk about to you today on this podcast. That's why I have titled this podcast, Football, Soccer, the World Cup, and its connection with Freemasonry and Illuminati rituals and symbolism. Please join me. The New Radio Church of God and the Plain and Simple Truth Ministries present the Messenger of the Lord with Apostle Yeshua, preaching the gospel of the good news of the kingdom of God and informing you about world events in the light of Bible prophecy and preparing the way for the return of Jesus Christ. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Apostle Yeshua. As football fever grabs the world's attention, here we focus on the many connections that football and football players have to Freemasonry. The first rules of football were drawn up by the new Football Association at 6 meetings at the end of 1863 at the Freemasons Tavern on Great Queen Street in London, now the new Connaught Rooms next door to Freemasons Hall. After the very first match under the new football governing rules way back in January 1864, a toast was drunk, how very Masonic in itself, to success to football irrespective of class or creed. There are a number of Masonic lodges named after their famous teams: Anfield Lodge number 2215, Everton Lodge number 823, and more recently the Football Lodge number 9921. The Football Lodge was a brainchild of David Lalana, father of England star Adam Lalana. Members of the lodge share their passion for the love of the game, and through Freemasonry, they hope to connect with the grassroots of the sport in the community. Many famous players and managers have enjoyed the companionship of Freemasonry, including Pelé, Messi, Maradona, and others, as you will later find out. One of these Masonic players, well known, was Sir Alf Ramsey. Sir Alf, a well-known Freemason, played for a number of top-flight teams including Southampton and Tottenham Hotspurs, and later went on to manage Ipswich Town, where he reigned for 10 years. His most famous role, which needs no explanation, was to lead England to victory at the 1966 World Cup. He was initiated into Waltham Abbey Lodge, number 2750, Hertfordshire, England, on the 5th of October 1953 at the age of 33. Dan Reevy played for several football teams, including Manchester City from 1951 to 1956. He then went on to manage Leeds United from 1961 to 1974, with whom he won the FA Cup in 1972 and the European Cup in 1973. Dan Reevy became the manager of the England football team between 1974 and 1977. He had been initiated into Leodiensis Lodge number 4029 in 1965. Ron Greenwood started his playing career at Chelsea Football Club, leaving for a brief spell to play for Brentford, who he supported as a lad. He then returned to Chelsea before finally going to Fulham FC. In July 1977, Ron Greenwood was appointed full-time manager of England, ending his 15-year association with West Ham United. Ron Greenwood became a Freemason in 1956 at the end of his final season as a player. He was a member of Lodge of Proven Fellowship number 6225. The blue colors of the Manchester City kit look familiar? The Manchester City soccer team was originally formed in 1880 and were then known as St. Mark's in West Girton, playing in red and black colors, which are also Devil's colors, by the way. In 1887, they then changed the club name to Ardwick, an area close to West Girton. However, it is reported that in 1894, the club found itself in financial hardship and had to be rescued from bankruptcy by the then club secretary Joshua Parlby. The club adopted the name Manchester City at the same time the Masonic colors of pale blue shirts and white shirts. Parlby and his predecessor, Lawrence Furniss, have been closely linked to the secret order of the Illuminati and were Masons, just like Sidney Rose, lifetime president of the club and a director for much of the last 30 years. It's always been my understanding, says Sidney, a member of the Old Mancunians Lodge, that the real founders of the club became involved in 1894 when there was some sort of financial crisis, and that they were Masons, or certainly had close Masonic connections. That was why they started playing in pale blue, the colors of Freemasonry. Surrey Freemasons and football. One lodge in particular, Old Palace Lodge number 7173, sponsors the church of a local youth team, Selsdon Junior SC, which was founded in 1975. It is one of the most successful junior football teams in England. But did you know Gareth Southgate started his junior playing days at the club? Introducing Apostle Yeshuram's new book, Everything That You Never Knew and You Need to Know About Life. The answers to life's enigmas, mysteries, puzzles, and riddles. Published author Yeshuram Hetziba brings to the reader in this fabulous work some of the most compelling and thought-provoking subjects and topics that will indeed enlighten you to a superb and amazing sort of compendium of knowledge and understanding, which is also intended to provide the reader with some real and very interesting answers to some of life's most difficult, hard, and intriguing questions. This work explores and will try to bring into light those most basic fundamental explanations to some of the most puzzling and trivial questions that humanity may ever ask about life itself, as well as other enigmas. Everything that you never knew and you need to know about life. You can get your copy at BarnesandNoble.com, Lulu.com, SweetPublishing.com, and get your copy today. Remember, everything that you never knew and you need to know about life. This book shows you some of the most fundamental things that you never knew and you need to know, like, why are you here on this earth? What happens when you die? What's going to happen next? Is World War III going to happen very soon? And many, many other answers to life's most puzzling enigmas, mysteries, and riddles. You need to get this book, Everything That You Never Knew and You Need to Know About Life. You better get your copy today. It only remains to say, what about the androgynous phallus and vagina symbolism of the FIFA World Cup Khalifa International Stadium? It appears that FIFA's 2022 Illuminati ceremony promoting a new world order wasn't quite blatant enough. The stadium in which the event took place features androgynous Masonic phallus and vagina symbolism. In the arcane world of symbolism, this clearly points to the alchemic chemical marriage and retroactively the lingam and yoni or the tantric tradition. In this case, the phallic symbolism is an obelisk-type structure represented as a torch. Lucifer, which translates to light bearer from the Latin Vulgate, is often depicted as carrying a torch. In Greek mythology, he is known as Prometheus. This particular phallic symbol clearly is meant to represent a torch. Lingam and Yoni. In the esoteric tantric traditions of India, the merger of the phallus and the vagina symbolically creates the non-dualistic state of consciousness. According to enlightened consciousness, the lingam and the yoni together represent the non-dual state of consciousness. Meditation on the lingam and yoni is a powerful form of practice for spiritual realization. This is not so much a sexual practice, but instead it is an image of non-dual union, meaning that the yoni and phallus are united as one. As described by Carl Jung, the phallus and the yoni represent the symbol of sacred cohabitation. In this case, and mentioned in the 2022 FIFA World Cup ceremony video, it represents one world cohabited by all. Phallus of Osiris. You might be wondering where else you're seeing this symbolism. That's right, at the Vatican. Also known as Caligula's obelisk, the structure at St. Petersburg Square is believed to be the only original Egyptian obelisk standing in Rome. Since their origins in ancient Egypt, obelisks always represented the phallus of the solar deity. In this depiction surrounded by the circle, it represents the union of lingam and yoni. The chemical marriage. Referring to the laws of duality in Hermeticism, the chemical marriage is a union of two opposite physical elements to create gold. In alchemy, it is represented by the red king and the white queen. In the spiritual sense, its meaning is much more symbolic. Essentially, it represents the union of the sacred and profane, thus creating, metaphorically, the perfect child of the mother and father known as the Rebbe's. The chemical marriage of 9/11. It has also been speculated that the events of 9/11 also proposed this union in a mass ceremony used to usher in the new era, the New World Order. Surely the union of the sacred and profane, two opposites, the North and South Towers, could not have resulted in the birth of the One World Trade Center. Note that the One World Trade Center literally replaced the Twin Towers in 2013. Order out of chaos. Note that this union of the North and South Tower aren't the only arcane symbolic synchronicities of 9/11. There is also the Masonic motto, Order out of Chaos. In this case, it should be read as New World Order out of Chaos. Please also note the two-headed eagle in the emblem of the flag and of the coat of arms of Russia, which shows the two-headed eagle also, which tells you something that is very obvious. You know who's really running the show in Russia. The Freemasons are. 9/11 and the Towers of Boaz and Jachin. In Freemasonry, there is also a gate known as the Towers of Jachin and Boaz. These are usually positioned on either side of a set of stairs or ladder known as Jacob's Ladder. This ladder represents a student's journey into godhood, and in this case represents the transition from one era to the next, the old chaos into the new order. Super Bowl, another sports event full of occult and Illuminati symbolism and ritual. The high-profile ritual known as the Super Bowl halftime show presents itself every year, and it is also full of occultist and satanic Illuminati and Freemasonic imagery, and no one dares to ask why this ritual is conducted and why we're being subjected to such a sinister display of occultism. We've seen various types of Masonic symbolism and events from previous Super Bowl halftime shows as the entertainers conduct their ceremonial magic right before our eyes. If you've ever wondered why conspiracy theories allege that musicians and artists are evoking energy from a darker realm, it is because most of them are Luciferians, occultists, and Satanists who worship their master, the devil. God hates sports. He delighteth not in the strength of the horse, any kind or type of horse races. He taketh not pleasure in the legs of a man, those who play football and soccer, according to Psalm 147 verse 10. So again, my friends, it's time that you wake up and that you open your eyes to the truth. All these sports are satanic rituals. They belong to the devil. There's nothing good about them. Not one thing. Everything is satanic in them and perverse. And it's part of the Freemasonic and the Jesuits ritual. They control all sports in this world. It's about time you wake up. So I wanted to bring you this because, everybody's talking about the World Cup today, and you need to know where these things come from. Because they are occultists 100%. Just like when they put that black robe over Messi. That black robe is a satanic ritual. It has nothing to do with being, the robes that the Arabs wear. That's BS. That is not true. That is a satanic lie. Okay? I'm telling you in God's own authority. These things are satanic, occultist, and they are Masonic in nature. There's nothing good about them. And that's why God hates sports. You need to wake up to that fact. So until next time, this is Apostle Yeshurun saying goodbye, friends. You have heard the messenger of the Lord with Apostle Yeshurun, preparing the way for the return of Jesus Christ. For more information on this podcast and this program, you may write us by email at Yeshurun, Apostle of the Lord, at AOL.com. Again, that is Yeshurun, Yeshurun, Apostle of the Lord, at AOL.com. This podcast was sponsored by the New Radio Church of God and the Plain and Simple Truth Ministries, and by the free will offerings, tithes, and donations of those who are listeners of this podcast and are supporters of this great work of God. The preceding program has been a Plain and Simple Truth Ministries presentation.